I said, Mrs. So-and-so, what's up? And she says, oh, I've made a huge mistake last night. And I said, well, what was the mistake? She goes, has the offering been deposited yet? And I said, I don't think so. I don't deal with that part of running the office and everything. And she goes, I need you to check for me because I wrote a large check. And I said, what's the problem? And she goes, I was so excited, and what he was saying had just had me so, full of faith and full of excitement and full of this and everything. And she said, and I knew I wrote a $500 check with nothing in the bank. And my heart broke. Not that the church wasn't getting the $500. My heart broke as that woman made an emotional decision and I believe she thought at the moment that she was doing right. I believe at that moment she thought that she was, honoring God and everything. And I remember calling my pastor and asking if we can still catch that. And we did and tried to do that. But I think that woman learned a lesson at that point. That if she can tap into what God says, not just what man says, not just what the emotions of the moment say, but to tap into what God says, that you can learn a lifestyle. Like I started years back, I learned a lifestyle of being generous and of giving. Now, to go ahead and start this series off with this portion as well, I want to say we're not raising money today. We're not raising money next week. We're not raising money anywhere in this series. This is not about raising money for Canvas Church. This is about living according to God's principles and watching that economy begin that action in your life. I've watched situations in this room, and we're going to hear from some of them hopefully in the next few weeks, but I've watched situations in this room where people said, God, I don't understand all that's in front of me, but I'm going to be faithful in giving to you. I'm going to be faithful in being uncommonly generous. And we've watched miracles happen. Miracles that didn't necessarily affect Canvas Church, but affected lifestyles and families and individuals. And they've said, I know that God's watching out. So how many of you guys want to be in God's economy and want to see God bless that? Amen? I know it's an amazing thing that we're going to watch unfold over the next few weeks. I don't really think that people are stingy. I just think they're misinformed. I don't think people are actually mean-spirited people. I think they just don't know what can happen when they turn things over to God. And that's a hard place to get to. I could imagine those old stagecoach days when you see the cowboy movies and they're running and they're snapping those they call them bridles. Do they call it those straps there? They're snapping that horse is running and everything, and it would be you're in control and you're trying to run, you're trying to have this thing go fast, and you're steering those horses the way they're supposed to go and everything, and it would be almost as crazy sounding to say let go of the straps and just let it roll. Well, but God's like that with us. We feel like we're doing good holding those straps even though things are getting out of control. Even though things are going so much faster than we can in all reality handle. And God is saying, I want to take hold of the reins of this part of your life. And I believe that when we do that, God really does something pretty amazing. As a matter of fact, in 2 Corinthians chapter 3, it says this, now the Lord is spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. The Lord is spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. Let me give you the Aaron Maynard's translation of that, okay? Here it is. You can't see God, but he's operating on your behalf. You can't see God, but his hands are all over your life. You may not be able to see him. He's spirit. You may not be able to see a God entry in your checkbook. There may not be a beautiful glitter pen that writes, deposited $1 million yesterday. It may not be like, God is spirit. But it's in the context of that spirit that there's freedom. It's in the context of trusting God and believing in God that there's freedom. As a matter of fact, God is CFO of the universe. Did you know that? He's the chief financial officer of it all. He says, I own the cattle on 1,000 hills. And I don't even have cookouts that consume the hamburger. God's not worried. God's not concerned. God's not frustrated or upset. He knows he's got it all under control. And he's our supplier. And he watches out for us. So to see people get free from debt like we saw in the video, to get free from bondages, to get free from the mindset of living paycheck to paycheck, I've known a lot of that in my life. I really have. I've known even worse, and Earl and I were talking about this before service. Man, some of our stories in the past, they were some difficult stories. They were some unique stories. We've known what it means to be dirt poor. We've known that. And none of us are by any means wealthy or rich or well-to-do or upper crust or any of those things that you want to say like that. We just are saying God's taken us from a place of difficulty and he's brought that freedom because we've turned things over to him in a great way. So with this series, I want to tell you help is on the way. With this series, we're going to be able to look into what God says. And with today, we're going to look beyond the numbers. Today we're going to look beyond just the numbers that come on your bills. We're going to look beyond the numbers that come on your check. Some of y'all are saying, the numbers that come on my check are a lot smaller than the numbers that come on my bills. And that's the reality some of the times. And it was like the video, you know, it's cool to have some kind of a lighthearted, comical kind of scenario, like that video. But you know, a lot of people live there. They're like, we're only short by 1,000. It is party time. It's comical until it catches up. It's comical until you can't make the minimums. It's comical until all of a sudden the water of debt is rising and you can't any longer keep your head above water like that. And a lot of people have been at that place. I think the statistic is that it takes until May to pay off Christmas. Has anybody ever heard that? Is that accurate? Is that might be March? So in other words, it takes several months to pay off Christmas because people say, well, if I can just do a little bit more, or if I can this, or so-and-so really wanted that in that color, instead of, like the video was talking about, living at our means. We're going to talk about that for just a little bit today. So if you are the kind of person who is a numbers cruncher, you're good at that, things like that, then this first part of this message is really going to kind of get you excited and get you really kind of moving about money. But I'm going to try to show you a different perspective after we do these things. I want to tell you that there are 5 basic laws of sound money management. There are 5 basic laws of sound money management. And this may kind of sound a little bit like it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it's for a purpose. 5 basic laws, according to financial planners, of sound money management. First one is this. It's the law of income. Everyone say income. The law of income. It's pretty tough to manage money unless there's no income coming in. That's simple. And there are a lot of people thinking, what's there to manage? It comes in and it goes right out. There isn't enough coming in, it just goes right back out, and I'm left with no margin. I'm left with no extra, no overage, no kind of cushion zone. What I need to do, and what financial planners will tell you you need to do whatever you can do to get more income coming in. You need to take a second job. You need to sell something. You just need to have more money coming in. Whatever it can happen, you need to cross the street to get $1 more an hour at a different place. And they'll tell you all the plans that you need to do in order to get more money coming in, because the law of income determines your success financially. So if you're a numbers-only person, they want you to get more money coming in. They tell you a higher income is better than a lower income because they're focused specifically on the numbers. It's the law of income. The second one is this. It's the law of spending. The law of spending. Financial planners teach that you need to get your spending below your income, and that's a common sense. That's just smart. You need to get your spending below your income. You need to make sure that you're not acting emotionally and that you're not that person who, when they're walking through the store, sees the newest and the latest out, and you got to outdo the thing that you've had in the past. Or you find out that the Joneses next door have bought this monster, huge color, black flat screen thing, and surround sound and everything, and you got to have one too. You got to fight that temptation in order to get your spending below your income. They tell you that's a sound financial principle if you're looking only at the numbers.